Hello. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. No. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. I couldn't resist. Sorry. I felt like I had to have some fun with it. No, hi. Of course. I'm Ashe. So yeah. Streamer, been streaming for oh.
Muted. There we go. I am unmuted now. Sorry. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, you can hear just me.
Yeah, they didn't hear
that's
you.
terrifying.
I'm so sorry.
No, there's the awkward part of me just being no.
Well, it was you telling me no to asking you to introduce yourself. So now.
No.
No.
Random. Okay. Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Oh my god.
That was on me. Yeah, I had switched out of a scene and switched back, and it muted me when I returned to the scene after I'd already tested. So that was on my side.
Goodness.
Let's start over. Then. Introduce yourself, please. Go.
No, I'm just kidding. So sorry. Hi. No, obviously I'm a jokester, but I'm Ashe vs the World. So yeah, streamer. Been streaming now for about I guess we're approaching 5 years. Climate science. I got my PhD in climate science in 2017 with a particular on ice particles. Went to work for NASA sometime for JPL, and then now moved over working with NOAA in DC. Yeah, this
Awesome.
is me, and also trans, and started transitioning just over now 2 years ago. So that's kind of me in every little aspect.
Awesome. That's a very good introduction. Thank you for actually doing one and not just disconnecting on me. You could have just hung up on me and be like, nah, just kidding. Gotcha.
No. I should also say too, I actually struggle sometimes talking about myself because another thing that I'm big about too is I also have a borderline personality disorder. So I'm also an advocate for that as well, for those that struggle with borderline personality.
Then
I always forget to include that, and I should include that more.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's really good to kind of get those things out there and being talked about and normalizing that. So yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah. We've got lots of people greeting you. They're excited. Hello, everybody! Yay!
Hi.
We have some new faces, or I guess I can't see your faces, but some new names. And yeah, so this is our month of STEAM on GeekGirlCon, where we've been hanging out with some people who work in or are enthusiasts about various aspects of STEAM. Mostly it's been the science side of STEAM this month. But also we've had, artists and stuff. So we're kind of gonna talk a little bit about a few different things that you just mentioned. So I guess we're gonna kind of start with the climate science side of things. It's a pretty broad category. Obviously, like say climate science is just kind of like, what is that? So yeah. So I guess what corners of climate science have you touched or worked around? What parts have you been?
Got it. So I guess with master's and PhD, a lot of my studies is really working with satellites. So that's a lot of what I dealt with was working with satellites originally. It was satellite validation, looking into the products that we have, particularly with radiation. So short way, long way, both. Kind of radiation validation. Then it progressed into looking at global climate models and evaluating those, starting with the NASA Goddard model, the Model 2E. E2 and mostly the R, but anyways, that's getting into too much. But going into certain climate models with that, and then moving with JPL, we started analyzing a bunch of different climate models. So looking at how well they simulate clouds, how well they simulate cloud and ice particles, water particles, in particular focusing on the southern mid-latitudes, where you have a nice little storm band that just tends to go unnoticed in a lot of global climate models, at least back in the day. I think there's been improvements since. And so that's been a lot of what I've done. A lot of my studies has been focused on. Recently, I've kind of taken a step back. So I don't work quite as much in the research field and the paper field. And now I do more data ingest. So now it's taking in data from around various points in the world with NOAA and feeding it into our systems and into our models so that they can be upgraded and looked at. So kind of more in the development of our current ongoing models.
Okay, cool. Is it so? Is there what are some of the kind of like differences you've experienced like working on the different sides of that?
I'm sorry, what was the question exactly?
Sorry. How did those experiences differ for you? Like, I guess
Oh, how they differ.
switching focuses.
Gotcha,
Yeah,
gotcha. Sorry.
yeah. No,
Um,
it's totally fine.
how do they differ? It was a lot. I mean, master's and PhD was kind of the same between satellite validation and model validation. That's kind of a lot of the same field, same people, honestly. A lot of it has really changed from looking at more the research side to going now more to the day-to-day data side.
Mm.
In the research side, it's very fast-paced. It's very cutthroat. Um, it's very, very much like just it's grueling because
Mm.
it's you've got to get grants, you've got to do your research, and you've got to write the papers, publish, more publishing. My old advisors used to push for it was a paper a year. Every
Mm.
year you should have at least one, and that's really doing the bare minimum. You should really pick it up.
Wow.
So it got really kind of intense and really kind of crazy because I've published 4 papers, 3 of which were done actually during my PhD. And so it was very just kind of grueling, very much always you've got to be on top of things. You've got to be in the know. You've got to know the latest things, read papers every night, we read a new paper. That
Oof.
was much more the intense side. Data ingest is much more I'm always on the clock technically. If something goes wrong, I got to be there to go and immediately fix it.
Mm.
But outside that, it's a lot of twiddling thumbs and going, oh, yeah, I'll get that done. No big deal. I work from home now. And
Nice.
even that's my boss is kind of if you want to wake up later, that's fine. I don't really care.
Awesome.
So, and now wake up at 10 and go into work and work until 5 or 6, maybe late at night. And it's really relaxed and really chill. So it's completely different.
Yeah, that sounds like a way different pace. Not
Very.
as grueling. Yeah.
So it went from really intensive and really grueling to pretty laid back, and it's kind of nice now. Now it's just messing around with data and trying to get things up and running all the time, and trying to just slowly improve things and figuring out why things are breaking in code.
Yeah, I mean that has become a very, very important part of all of our science and our data. Like our tech is just having that ability to actually know what the data is doing, where it's coming from, where it's going, like processing and analyzing. Like there's so much more of that happening now in so many tech and science fields than we ever did have before. It's just
Absolutely.
like critical.
Absolutely. And yeah, the flexibility is absolutely amazing. It really, really is. Sorry, I missed the question. The 1 to 10, how sticky is my work in climate science? I don't know. How do you define sticky?
That's a good question.
Happy to answer that, but I don't quite know. I will say you feel very stuck in it. I will say that's one thing. And that's one thing I've realized too, is everyone seems to know everybody. And so whenever I did my master's, I was hoping to change actually from PhD because I was really interested in doing lightning studies and looking at lightning and global climate models. Talked to my advisor, and it was very much you can do whatever you want. It's fine. And then when I went to work for him, it was like, no, 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 no. You really need to continue working with Goddard. Like, okay, what if I did this with them? No, 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 no. You really need to continue working with ice particles. Ice particles. That model, huh? In particular, if you could look at this at the mid latitudes, that would be great too. Like, oh, okay. Anything I want to do with ice particles in this model in the southern great options. Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So it got more funneled than they were presenting it as. Okay.
Very funneled, very much the kind of work toward this, and you have to like really work and push yourself if you want to break out of it of what you're doing to get into something new. You've really got to like kind of set up the things on your own on the side, be prepared to do some extra work on the side to really get into it. So it can be very, very sticky in that regard and very intense.
There you go. So it's like metaphorically sticky.
Yeah.
Yeah. What got you into it in the first place? What led you to that path?
A mistake.
A mistake?
No, it's funny how it works. I started off actually in petroleum engineering because that's what my father did. And I was always told I had an engineering based mind, and I think I still do. That's where I sometimes wonder if I have more of the scientist mind or just more of the engineer mind, which is maybe that's why I like my new job more of just fixing things versus trying to create. Even though I get to do that through streams, so maybe I'm a little bit of both. But I started off in petroleum engineering, and I ran into a very, very sexist and racist professor that I couldn't deal with. And it's very hard to graduate when you have to go through the course and you have some very choice words with them and a middle finger to their face. Um, on day one, that was a bad time. He apparently had just gotten tenure and wanted to test his waters. So he proceeded to insult half of the class, who were people I had come in with. So I didn't take it very well. So I was kind of at a point of, well, what do I do now? And I had always told, well, you would be, well, obviously pre-transition, you'd be a great weatherman. Sure. Okay. I'll look into climate science. And I walked into their office, sat down with the dean, and said, I don't know, tell me about this field. Why should I be in it? We talked for a little bit, talked about clouds and just the ability to kind of, I like with climate and at least with weather, it's you can see it firsthand. You get to go experience it. I've actually gotten to go on field campaigns before and do tornado chasing, storm chasing, even snow chasing. Look at really heavy snow events. And I've gotten to do all this because you get to go and experience it firsthand. And I loved that. By the end of us talking, it was kind of okay, well, I just changed your major. What? I changed your major. You can do that? I'm the dean. I can do what I want. Okay. Yep. Here's your new courses. Here you go. And I fell in love with it. And so it was kind of a jokingly called a mistake. I just kind of roamed into it and it just sort of stuck.
Okay.
But I enjoy it because it allows me to do, I really was interested in computer engineering and things like that and dealing more with coding, programming, and allows me to exercise all of that. So it worked out really, really well.
That's awesome. So it kind of you roamed there, and it wasn't really like the path you originally set out for, but you were good with when you got there.
Yep. I kept myself open to new roads and new avenues, and when they presented themselves, I said, you know what? Sure, that sounds great.
And we've got some climate jokes rolling in.
Weather
we've got
the
weather blew me in.
The weather folks are great. There's so much variety too. I wanted to be one of the crazy people in the street though. That's just the wind's blowing in the face and I'm standing here.
Yeah.
The wind's blowing 120 miles an hour. Street sign just went past. Like, would have been great, but oh.
I mean, you know what? You're doing streaming now. Like, you could just you gotta get a live cam out there when there's some weather happening. Also have a game on like a Switch or something, and then just be doing both. Speaking of which, how did you get into streaming? Sorry to switch gears quickly. I was just, I figured I'd jump back and forth to some stuff.
That's just. Feel free to yell at me if I ramble on anything. I'm known for rambling.
You are totally fine.
Gosh. I got into Twitch with Twitch Plays Pokemon. Friends telling me like, yeah, there's a bunch of like chat's playing Pokemon. I'm like, what do you mean? What is chat? Like, what is all of this? And I got in on it. It was like, this is chaos, and I love it. Then it went into like GTA RP back then, like the original. But I fell out of that. But and next thing I just started watching and kind of perused around. Then I started falling into like certain communities and started becoming a little bit more prominent, talking and enjoying it. And it's horrible to say, but I stupidly said one day, I was like, this looks easy. I could do this. And I found out it's not easy. Yeah, I ended up getting into it and I got in all the wrong reasons. I was like, I don't know. A lot of it came down to at the time I was working. I just moved out to California with JPL and late nights, and I come home and I hung out with the same group of friends, which I love them dearly. So I don't want any of them to ever take it the wrong way, but hung out with the same group of friends doing the same thing. Like we're going to get on World of Warcraft. We're going to go get on Final Fantasy 14. We're going to this is what we do every day. Same game. Play anything else? Nah. Just get on the same game. And I just kind of got bored. I just was like, you know what? I could do it. And then I started trying streaming and it was kind of going and doing all right for about 2 or 3 months of doing it. I started actually developing a little bit of a community, and it was the realization, I think, around TwitchCon 2017. I think it's 2017 or 2018. It was in the one in LA. But I ended up just going to it and I started just finding out like there's a lot you can do with this and beating people. Like this is cool. It's nice having a group that's just yours. Like it's people you know and you interact with, who care about each other. And that's when I started getting that sense of like, this is what a community is like. And everything just kind of changed. And
Yeah.
as it's gone on, it's just become more and more about it's just about the community. And so I got into it more and keep doing it because it just makes me happy. It makes me happy seeing people connecting, helping each other out, supporting each other, getting to know each other. There's nothing better than finding friends say like, I found my new favorite streamer through you, or my new best friend through you, or my partner through you, because that's happened
Oh,
too. And it just warms my heart. And that's what keeps me going. And then after transitioning now too, it's nice that it's just people going like, oh, you're an inspiration because you're just living your life and you don't let trolls get you down. You don't let people get you down. Like, and it just keeps me going.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I
The
I
community.
I noticed that I was telling you before we got on stream that I had watched some of your streams, and I noticed at the beginning, like I felt warm and cozy going into the chat because everybody was just talking in a very friendly,
Yeah.
happy way, and you were very welcoming to everybody who was coming into the chat, and I really appreciate that. So I think it sounds to me like you carried it forward into the work that you're doing with streaming, which is awesome.
It means a lot. It's kind of it's what I live for, honestly. I try never to look at numbers. I try never to care about trying to do the hot and greatest thing or the best thing. It's just I try to be there because I want to make people laugh and smile. And so it's nice that that kind of comes across.
Yeah. Yeah, we also, it's a common value with us as well with GeekGirlCon, is so that's where we
Yeah.
are here for community. For good community. So I guess I'll kind of weave those two topics together a little bit. Has there been any crossover between your day job work and climate science and what you've been doing streaming, or do you kind of keep those separate from each other, or kind of keep them separate?
I kind of keep a firm line in between it. I try not to blend them at all.
Except right now.
It's fun to bring in topics. That's one thing. I do like bringing work into my streaming. I have never really tried bringing streaming into work. It's not for lack of interest. There was a time actually I really wanted to, especially with JPL when I was with them, because they would occasionally do these little random streams, but it was always like mission control kind of things. It was people behind the scenes. It was literally like rocket scientist friends that I had. And I'm like, I wish I could be there, but I can't really do much on climate, but sure. So like I had an interest and I wish I would have pursued it a little bit more. I felt like there I could have, and no, I don't feel like I have any avenues for it. There just doesn't seem to be a lot of interest. And the closest I get now is like for various things for websites is we really need someone to record some things, maybe do some animations to make this look nice to do. And I just kind of slouch behind and hide and go, oh yeah, that'd be great for someone else to do that. No, it sounds great. No, I definitely couldn't do that. I don't have a setup for that or programs or software. No, that'd be weird. So I shy away from it, admittedly, and I try to just keep a firm divide, though it definitely gets noticed. If I show up on meetings with this setup, it's always that's a really cool background you got to work. Like, oh yeah, that's great. It's in Zoom. Yeah, of course.
Just wave it away.
I get questions on the green screen. I kind of get and now it's even on I finally put it on my resume, and so I will occasionally get questions on it. I won't lie. I actually had heard that it helped me get my recent job
Oh,
because they
interesting.
did tell me that like, well, you seem to be one about ingenuity. You seem to be okay with socially being able to conduct yourself, talk to people, you put yourself out there. And so we wanted to know more about you. And so apparently that was one of the things that kind of got me the second interview and helped me like land the job,
That's awesome.
which was a nice little change because it went from uncertainty on jobs to I applied for a job that was meant for 3 different jobs. And then ultimately all 3 wanted me and they had to fight for me,
Ooh,
which was fun.
that's
But
that's excellent.
it ended up working out really well. And I never would have thought that putting Twitch on my resume would work out, but it did. It
That
really, really did.
that's so cool. So you were able to kind of bring forward, even though you're kind of keeping them separate and you have the line, you were able to kind of bring forward some of your own
Yeah.
personal life and the things you were doing for you and bring that into that space, into the workspace. That's cool.
But about the only way I've been able to bring streaming to work.
Fair. Yeah, they'll figure it out one of these days. I know, it's like NASA, NOAA, and places like that are starting to incorporate that more, which is interesting. Like where they're doing more live streams, like with NASA the other day doing the live stream of like the comet defense, is that right? Meteor defense, and things like that.
Yeah.
They're doing a lot of that lately, and so it's like they're starting to do streaming, but it's not with people yet. They're not really doing hosted streams as much. So, but
Yeah, it's where if I ever got to go back to them, I would want to try to push to be a part of it finally again. Would have been nice. Would have been fun.
Oh, people. Shield of Apollo says, "Don't you love when people fight for you?"
No, that's the truth. It was such a nice feeling. It's such a completely unknown feeling for me.
Yeah.
I mean, because up until that point, it's one of the things that kind of happened in science. It was just I felt like I got passed along from advisor to advisor. I mean, master or for going from undergrad, it was quite literally like I have a friend, North Dakota, you go. I'm like, I don't think I want to do that. No, I have a friend, you go. Like, I think I'll pass. And I tried to get a job for a year and it didn't work out. So his friend, North Dakota, I went. And I ended up working for him for 2 years and his same kind of thing. It's like, oh yeah, I have a friend for California, JPL. You'll go there. Like, what if I don't want? There was no wanting. It was here you go. Set it up. We ended up setting it up and it was just like, yep, there's your job offer. Like, okay. So you just kind of like just went along with the flow. This is the first time where it was well, here's 3 options. You can kind of take and pick what you want. We all want you. Oh, this is options? I don't know what to do with myself.
That's awesome. So now we talked before we got on here. You said, kind of questions are good to go about all these different topics that we already talked about. And so I guess I have a question about how how being trans may have affected that experience for you in terms of, did it change opportunities in your field at all when you transitioned, or did it help you at all, like feel like more like you were fitting there or less, or?
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that for anyone wondering that, like, yeah, and that's for everyone as well too. The chat, like, you can ask me anything. I'm an open book. I really, really am. There's nothing that offends me. There's nothing that will bother me. I am happy to answer anything, anytime, not just even today, but anytime. But no, as far as affecting things, it was kind of an interesting one because when I was transferring from JPL out to here. I had gotten a job. I had started working there because actually with Noah, this is when we talked previously before about bad jobs. I just a god awful job, and when I was there, I had actually hosted a mental health chat night where I talked about my dysphoria, and I got pushed by my community actually, like I should look into transitioning. So a lot of my work was watching videos at the office. But then I swapped to a new position, and while there's when I actually started getting on medication, but I didn't share a thing. Like they didn't need to know. So I kind of kept it quiet for a little while, and then I lost my job for a year, unemployed. So it was about I think about a year on HRT that I was applying for this new position, and it was like, okay, well, either a year or a couple months. I'm trying to remember time frames. I guess it had to be. We're approaching a year now, so yeah, it had to be, I guess, about just under a year. So with applying for it, I won't lie, I did everything under dead name. I just kept it quiet, didn't say anything, just kind of left it be until I got the position. And then after about a month, like a couple days in, I met with my boss, and it was so by the way, I didn't want to say anything because what had happened actually about a month prior to me getting my current job is I had had an interview where I went boy mode, tomboy mode, if you want to call it. Just kind of pretended like I wasn't doing anything. And they got to a question where they asked me about how do I deal with diversity. So I brought up streaming and talking about how like I'm trans and actually have to deal with transphobic comments basically daily. So I have to deal with diversity on a daily thing. And so we got into it, and that ended up being the last question of the meeting. I didn't get a call back. I didn't get informed that I didn't get the position. I didn't receive another email. I was ghosted.
Wow.
Unexpected. And so after that, I just kind of went, okay, I guess I won't bring that up. So the new one, I didn't. I kept it quiet. And afterwards, I brought it to my boss's attention because I was like, I don't know if this is going to be a problem, but here's me.
Mm.
And instead what I actually found was a ton of support. And so it's changed things a lot, but that's where like I found a ton of support. My bosses are extremely kind and they were sending emails at a time like, name says this, their name is Ashley, it's she. Like, okay. To the point of even correcting people in the middle of meetings, like, that's Ashley. She. Oh, okay. So it with this current group, it's been amazing. It's been really fantastic. Now the only person who messes up is HR
Oh, really?
for some reason.
They're supposed to be the representatives for you
Mm-hmm.
there.
That's the irony in my current position is like the people I work with, they're great. Everyone's fantastic. People try to remember if they mess up, they're immediately apologetic. Because like for the longest time when in meetings at the bottom it would say our names, it still said my dead name. So you have the occasional time where someone maybe wouldn't forget, like I'm not saying names because I don't really care, but they're like, I know it's not Ryan, but forgive me, I don't know the name. That's what I was telling them. I'm like, and it was fine. So people have been generally really supportive and really fantastic. HR them, no. I don't know why. I asked them if I could change my name in the system, and their response was, why would you want to do that? Like, because my name is different?
Yeah.
Oh, well then what do you want to change? My email, how my name shows up in meetings, how I connect to everything. Just a few things. Oh, okay. And after I had to explain to them why, and I'm like, I don't. All right.
Mm.
It's been hysterical because I always brought up to them was they like, people get married, right? And they change their names, right?
Yeah.
Surely there's a system in place for this. Oh yeah, I guess we do have that.
Yeah. Wow.
Like,
Yeah. Because those systems already exist there for lots of other circumstances and situations. And at that
oh
point, it
yeah,
seems like they're being intentionally obtuse about it a little bit.
very.
Yeah.
It was hysterical, and they're like, oh, I guess we could do that. Like, yeah, that would be a solution. I can't imagine. Who would have thought? So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's been interesting.
Yeah.
Um, That's where I know I've actually mentioned it with you before, but like I wish I could speak more on like what it's going to be in the more of the public space because of not being in the research fields, I don't go to conferences anymore.
Mm.
I would tell you from my experience, I didn't see many trans people in the public space when it came to climate and any of our conferences. Now, that probably is just for me lack of looking and not paying attention and not, I don't, or if it is, I just didn't think anything to notice. It was just like, okay. It always seemed open. I would tell you, at least when it comes to dealing with people in the science fields, more often than not, I find honestly acceptance. I find people just going like, okay, sure.
Hmm. That's great.
Even if it's like even with like my current group, it's like, well, this is a new experience for me, but I'm open to it. Like, okay, cool. That's great. I love it.
Good.
So it's been honestly really nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm really glad. Like, I'm glad it sounds like it was a little bit of an uphill battle for a while
A
there.
little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
But I'm glad that it's kind of in a place where your people around you are being more supportive and actually,
Definitely.
yeah.
I think it's like anything in life, it's going to be hit or miss. There's going to be groups that aren't so for it and other groups that are completely open. And my experiences, for the most part, it's been open, which is nice.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. Do you feel like that's the same? Like, do you feel like your Twitch community, people you've met through there, is more or less kind of in that area? Like more so?
I I would tell you that one, if I'm trying to be realistic on it, it's a little hard to judge because I found a ton of support. I mean, I started transitioning actually because of my community. Before it was just, oh, just a little dysphoric and maybe I'm just non-binary. I think I'm just non-binary. And they really kind of pushed me a little bit for like I think you should try, like, see if you like these pronouns, see if this feels right. Because I was one of those people that I just thought it was normal to always wake up and kind of wish you were the other gender. I thought that was just a thing that everybody did. Come to find out, apparently not. um, but they've all been pretty supportive. But I can't sit there and say like, well, everyone I knew was supportive and things didn't change. No, I definitely watched viewership kind of just slowly drop off a little bit for a while there, and I definitely watch names kind of just stop interacting with me, or people get a little weird of like, "Hey, you, good to see you.
Yeah.
You playing things? Oh, sure." Just kind of walk like, don't want to talk. I'm like, okay. Which, I mean, it's to be expected, I guess. That's just how it's gonna be. But I think like more than I've ran into is most people were accepting. Most people have been really, really supportive and great. And the ones that didn't, for one, good riddance. And two, they just kind of quietly scooted off and see you later. It'll be what it'll be.
So it was kind of like it was uncomfortable because there were a lot of changing, but after they kind of went away, that was kind of a better space, or
Yeah, I
because
think
they
so.
weren't in it, they weren't in it anymore. If they're going to be uncomfortable and they're going to be weird about it.
And that's where I guess I get it. Maybe people don't like it. Maybe it confuses them. Like, okay, if they just don't, if I'm not someone they want to spend time around, then fine. All right, then each their own, and that's okay. And I don't wish anything ill on them. I feel like it's gotten to be a better space now. It's definitely I feel like been a more welcoming space. I won't lie. When I first started streaming, I felt like I had a space that was little did I know there were people in there who were pretty transphobic and pretty homophobic, and I just one of those like, well, I'm not that way, but well, surely they're not either. But no, I think people were, and they kind of slowly made themselves scarce, and we're quick now to like go jump on things and going, no, that's kind of an offensive statement. And a lot of those people now have just kind of gone, well, I guess I won't be here anymore. I'm like, okay, so yeah, we'll be fine without you. Better even.
Yep.
So I think it's really kind of helped in the long run. And one thing I've actually been amazed with over the years, and I never realized this, is obviously there was a shift in some of my community because some disappeared. A lot of new folks came in, especially with like being able like having the tags on Twitch and then being able to search a transgender tag and come on in through that. A lot of new folks came in, but there was a lot of the core members that stayed the same. And what was amazing to me and still blows me away is the number of members that after I came out were like, oh, hey, I'm trans too. Like, I never knew, like, yeah, didn't have any reason to come up. So I started finding more and more of our community members that were also trans. Like, oh, okay. Or even that, we have multiple members of the community, gender fluid, just all kinds of things. Some that have all of a sudden, as I came out, also like, oh, yeah, by the way, I'm non binary. Like, oh, okay. Like, it's been all over and it's crazy. It's been so nice just to know, like, things that I feel like if people were before, they just didn't share it because they didn't feel they could. And now it seems like they feel like they're open. They can be like, yeah, we did. And there's been a lot of that camaraderie and a lot of that support for each other, which makes me super happy.
Aw. Okay, I'm now tearing up a little bit. That's so sweet. And I can see people, you've got a few folks in here in chat that are very, very supportive and, saying they feel actively welcomed as a new arrival to Ashe's community. I found nothing but supportive people in there. And they're saying they're not going anywhere. So, yeah, that's
not
wonderful.
Gonna make me cry.
I know, right? Now we're like, okay, we've got to switch, go.
Hate you all.
Okay. We'll back off for a second. We'll switch back to climate science for a second. I'm gonna do a head swivel. So what is fun about your work? I know you said like remote work is really nice. You're enjoying that, like being able to set that.
It's great. Being able to play video games while in work meetings, that's fantastic.
Yes.
That's great. Like sitting there for 3 hours in a meeting going, that's great. No, it's so fantastic. Oh, hey, cool, I caught a new Pokemon. What was that? Nothing. Don't even worry about it.
I'm poking the Excel sheet.
Yes, in fact, yes, it's true. I did indeed. Oh, shiny data cell. That's fantastic. No, I mean the truth is like I enjoy my new job honestly a lot more because it's allowed me to do a lot more ingenuity. It's a lot more problem solving. With dealing with the paper side of things and dealing with research in particular like climate research, a lot of it feels like what you do falls on deaf ears. and it's kind of the damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's the rush, and it's just between always having to, you have to do partial research to write grants for things that may not get funded, because to get the grant funded, you have to have already done like 90% of the research, which you then use those funds to do your next project and try to get your next funding. So it always feels like sleight of hand to try to get ahead, to try to do something to push out this paper that no one cares about. We had a paper that we wrote looking at entrainment rates. So it's like the rate at which storms take in outside air, because as they take in more outside air, they slowly will die out. So you can kind of see the strength of the storm based on like looking at entrainment rates and how well it will avoid taking in outside air, and it keeps its kind of vertical column strong and continuing the lifespan of a storm. Well, we ended up finding up a new method to try to look at entrainment rate on a global scale using just satellites and just using different little I think like water content. It's been a while since I looked through it. But it was something like no one had done it. No one had done it on a global scale. No one had looked into it. And we put out this paper like, oh, this could be like really revolutionary. No one noticed it. No one read it.
Wow.
No one cared. And yet I now have gotten numerous emails over like random months where it's just, oh, I really want to ask you questions in this paper. Could you come out and talk to us about this topic? And it's like, that is 3 years ago. I don't remember it now. It's been forever. And people like, it started finally gaining some interest. And it's like, I don't know why this didn't matter before, but now it apparently does. And I'm off of that. I don't work on that anymore. I don't have the time or the energy or the funds to go visit and talk about it and just do talks. Like, sorry. So it's a lot of it just kind of feels like it's rushing to get something, and maybe it gets seen, maybe it doesn't. Honestly, it feels more like streaming. Maybe you get noticed, maybe you don't. And so that's the fun thing with my job now is I do a lot of problem solving versus the fighting to be noticed, fighting to be heard, to get an interesting paper out there, and fighting for money and fighting for grants. But at the same time, some of that was kind of fun. It was kind of interesting to always be traveling, to be presenting in different places. I've gotten to go internationally to present. So there's some of that was kind of cool and kind of entertaining. So yeah, some of it can be really exciting, but really taxing. But that's, I guess, the fun things with my job is now I get to fix problems. Before it was, I guess, if you like staying on top of things and being at the forefront of research, I got to do that, which was fun, exhausting, but it was fun.
So you think that came from it being like, kind of like Twitch and streaming, where there's oversaturation, or there's not good, attention being drawn to research being done in the field in climate science, or what causes that they're not noticing things as they come out noticing research?
I don't know if I could say it's oversaturation. I think for me, I always noticed it kind of came down to who you know. And there's a lot of that popularity contest, I would say sometimes, at least with climate science. I don't know how it is in other sciences. But at least with climate scientists, it feels very, for climate science, it felt very like, who do you know? Who can get you in on this? Who can bring attention to papers? Because a lot of times too, it's getting referenced in another paper. And so the minute you get referenced, then it's more people looking at your paper. Next thing you know, it gets included in like one of our global reports and things like that. So it gets you more exposure, more noticing. And I think it's just kind of that. It's kind of it becomes more of a who you know.
Okay.
And so.
Yeah, that does seem to load up a lot of industries and weigh them down. Is that who you know being the more important component than what you're doing? So
absolutely, and depending on who you know, it's if you know this person, then you get involved with this field project, which gets your name out there, meeting other people face to face. Because that's another thing too, is that the minute you get to meet someone face to face, then you're kind of etched in their memory for good. So it was definitely the more about just trying to get out there, trying to do something to be seen. Because otherwise, I don't really blame people either, because I guess there is some oversaturation in that you're seeing so many different people, so many different papers, so many bad papers, that you just kind of like tune it all out after a while. So it's yeah, I think it's the popularity contest. So I guess looking back, I guess there's a little bit of oversaturation. The
Hmm.
more I think on it.
Hmm. So yeah, okay, that's interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
I wondered like if it might be similar to how some other industries are, where it's just like there's just so much and there's not good methods of driving
probably.
attention to it. So I see
Probably
that
so.
I see now that we may be entering listener questions or viewer questions period, because we're getting some questions. So we've got Do the Jump asks, so do you model clouds of ice particles as a fluid or a gas? Is a cloud of ice particles technically sand?
Oh. So a lot of the global, like, because I dealt with global climate models versus the small scale models. Small scale models, you actually will do more of, I think, like the fluid dynamics on it, and fluid, like how it propagates and how it moves through cell to cell and all that. With global climate models, our scaling is so large that you really can't. So it's all parameterizations that are written into place to treat on how it moves and how it goes. I think even then, I guess you could still say it's kind of treated like a fluid, and where it goes. Um, that's technically, I guess, how it would be kind of treated.
Okay.
So yeah, it's all dealt through with the parameterizations. Basically, if I've got this much, this much water water density within this column around this space, like we can expect this, and it gets fed into different radiative transfer models to do ray tracing and not ray tracing, um, but more like single ray climate models to try to like figure out how it works and operates, as far as like what your cloud fractions are and where clouds are going to be. So it's all done through like small scale parameterizations to try to just factor it in. So
Okay.
they get treated, I would say, even less like clouds and less like anything.
Yeah, because there's so much
um,
abstraction that kind of happens.
yeah, it's such a large scale. You have to look at it because I mean most climate that words are hard. Sorry.
No, take a second, take a drink of water.
There we go.
Yeah.
I was trying to say most global climate models, they're dealt with like such large scales. You're talking about, the smallest one's getting down to a 1 degree by 1 degree latitude and longitude. So the amount of clouds you're getting in that space is a large amount, a large variety. So at that point, you're almost just saying like, within this box, 40% of it's cloudy, and that's what you have to just go off of.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't even propagate. It doesn't move. It's just this much. Based off these factors, 60% are clouds.
Okay. Okay. So it really becomes about the numbers, and yeah. Okay. Okay.
Now it
Interesting.
feeds into it though.
Okay. We've also got I'm gonna butcher this name. I'm sorry, Minifnaffer. What's the coolest place you got to go due to your job?
Got to travel to Cancun, although while it was fun to be there, it wasn't a fun time.
Oh, okay.
I got to be a chauffeur for my advisor. Ended up being a lot of drama.
Ooh, okay.
Ended up being a lot of drama. Yeah, he took us along for trips. He's like, okay, golf cart, you can drive it. We're driving you around.
Wow.
Sure. Okay. So it became more about his vacation and a lot of drama too, because I wasn't supposed to stay in the same room as him and then pay for it. But then he tried to force me to do it, which then got our secretary involved, who chewed him out, who then chewed me out in the middle of Cancun, in the middle of nowhere. He tried to abandon me at our hotel. So
yikes.
good times.
Wow.
Yeah. Fun times.
So okay, where would you rather be, or where would you rather go for your job? How about that?
No, I've gotten to go to some really cool places. I mean, originally the fun things I had was internships with JPL. That was actually really cool to go out there for a summer and work. That was a lot of fun. Probably the most unique and coolest experience though I had was actually going up to around Seattle.
Cool.
So we were going up there. I think it's Seattle University of Washington. I think is it located in Seattle, or is it
Seattle University?
Yeah. The University of Washington? I think it's
yes. Yeah.
okay, I think it's University of Washington, Seattle, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
We got to go up there, a group of us, to work on, it's called a white paper, which is basically a paper that a group of scientists get together to propose a project to be done. So it was a field campaign to actually look at the mid-latitude clouds within the models. And so it was really cool to go out there for multiple days and wake up, crack of dawn to just go into the university and just sit in a room full of scientists and talk about like, okay, how do we want to do this research project? Who's going to be involved? What are we going to use? What would be done? And just to go through all of that. That was a really cool experience. That was travel wise. That was the funnest I've got to do.
Cool.
We got to do one that was cooler, but that wasn't travel related. That one was I got to help design a satellite. So
Oh.
that was actually a part of my contract job on the side, which ultimately, unfortunately, was the reason I left because I was trying to do more work for that. And my other boss kept trying to claim my time.
Okay.
So it became a fight, and then I found a new position and I took it. So I'm sad that I never got to see the outcome of it, but that was originally we were building a satellite essentially from scratch. It was a small lifetime satellite that um, was going to be for the Air Force, and
Huh.
because of that, unfortunately, that's like all I can really share on it because it became
Okay.
very classified. But it was a cool little classified project that I could say like we got to go in like how are we going to make the satellite? Who's making it? What's it going to be built out of? What's our sensors and how are we aligning this? And looking into all that, how can we validate the data when it comes out, which was where my expertise came in. So that was just a really cool project to be a part of, 10 people that were just designing this satellite that we were going to put into space.
Yeah, that's really
So
cool. Like the brain tank
yeah.
thing where everybody gets together and just
Hmm.
brainstorms. That's awesome. That sounds really
And that
fun.
was a weird one because I very much sat there going at the same time going, why am I here? And why do you think I'm an expert? But sure, I'll go with it.
uh,
It was fun,
that's
but
awesome.
it was intense.
And also, like, you get that secretiveness of like
Yeah, like
classified.
it's gonna find out. I was like, yeah, I worked in a classified project to
Ooh.
build a satellite. What was it designed to do? That is an excellent question.
It's gonna have to be
That
a
was
big
fun though.
question mark.
It was really cool. It was kind of cool to have that little like manila folder of like, here's your stuff. Don't leave this anywhere. Don't you let anyone find it either.
Okay.
Okay. All right then.
Uh,
That was fun.
that's awesome.
Right?
Apocalypse asks, climate science is obviously an important field to be in right now. Do you have any advice for someone considering that career path?
Don't. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I always tell people that I can't resist every single time. It's just like, what tell you about? Don't. No. It is I kid. I 100% kid. Um, no, I think it's a very important. It is a very, very important field. I would sometimes say it's unfortunately goes to be a very thankless field
Mm.
because it's if we can get into all that, but that's I feel like unfortunately when it comes to climate science, even like now where you've got some of the hottest temperatures on record and you get flooding, you get wildfires, everyone still kind of goes, yeah, but like I'm not going to change anything because the climate will fix itself. That's fine. And I feel like it's a thankless job that falls on
Mm.
deaf ears until we finally hit a tipping point that ought to be, okay, well, fix it, fix it, fix it. Oh, we're beyond fixing.
Mm.
Oh, okay. So unfortunately, it's a field where I would say prepare to be frustrated.
Mm.
Um, but no, I think it's still worth. I think it's still exciting, and as I joke about like, don't do it. Um, I still think it's extremely rewarding. I think it's fun because you're dealing with a lot of people who are very forward thinking.
Mm.
It's a very ingenuitive field. It is crazy the things that you see people do and trying to use this to be able to determine this and based off this to find out like the complex ingenuity that is shown in the field blows me away. Absolutely blows me away. Um, so as far as like advice, like it's still worth doing. But as far as I guess advice, the best advice I think I because I felt like I was getting off topic. But the best advice I would say to anyone getting in that kind of field and probably science fields in general, um, the best advice I always try to give is to just keep your mind open, keep your
Mm.
avenues open.
Mm.
Always be looking for opportunities to be able to insert yourself
Mm.
or at least insert your interest. Because that's something I found more at JPL and something I guess I should have done more when I was there if I wanted to stay there. Uh, Things panned out and worked out well, but like with there, I think a lot of it becomes the being able to go, you know what, I'm interested in doing that. Who can I work with? Who can I talk to make this happen? And how can I get started? And always keeping yourself open to just, someone comes along and say, we need someone for this. That sounds fun, but no, I couldn't do it. Well, why not? Can you learn? Maybe it's worth doing. And so I always try to tell people it's keep yourself open to opportunities. because you never know what you might find that you enjoy.
That sounds like excellent advice. Yeah, I think that definitely works in multiple fields for sure. Like that, and that's awesome. Yeah.
That's weird because it's led wonders to me. And we talked about it a little bit before starting up the stream, but like I've had a lot of bad opportunities or bad situations in my life. Like when I was with JPL, I left actually because my brother was diagnosed with cancer, was going in hospice, and my boss turned out to be a very bad boss. So I just kind of was one of those things. If I could have just stuck it out, could have just worked harder, buried my head, and said I hated here and done it. But instead, it was you know what? I think it's time to be open for something new. What do I want to do? And I just kind of looked around and went, I don't know. Let's look for something. I just want to get away. I'm gonna look on the East Coast. And that's how it became. I just started looking around on the East Coast. The next thing you know, it was, oh, here's a job. Oh, it's in DC. Sure. You know what? It's different. Why not? Is it something I've normally done? No, I've never done data entry, well, not data entry, because that sounds like something indifferent, but like data ingest, it's taking in data from different stations. Like I've never dealt with that, but I like playing with data. So sure, why not? I've dealt with large scale data plenty. Like we'll give it a whirl. And it panned out. And I'm now super thankful to be here.
Yeah, that's
it panned out after 2 bad jumps, but it panned out. And it was always when I got to the new position, things weren't going well. All right, let's start looking for something new. Oh, this? Sure, I'll jump on it. Oh, this was a worse mistake. All right, well, now what? I'll make myself open to a new opportunity. Sure. And just keeping myself open. And now I'm extremely happy.
Excellent. I was going to say, so you feel like you kind of following opportunity and letting yourself continue to be open to opportunity helped you get to where you are now.
Very much so. And that's where I'm grateful that I can also say like it won't always lead to something better, because I definitely had the position right before this one that was the worst I've ever been in. Nightmare, headaches, bad for my health. Put me in a real bad, dark place. But like it was one of those, this was a bad jump. All right, well, red flag spotted. I've noted it. Let's not make this happen again. What can I find new? And just being open. And it ultimately led me to being in a really happy spot. So
that's great.
Very grateful for all my little jumps and being open.
Well, then it sounds like that is the perfect advice to give everybody, because then they can also follow, like, even if you get to somewhere where it's not so good of a result, you can maybe get to go past that and through that to the next thing.
I feel like looking back, the risks were worth, just because if nothing else, I learned something. Because like in the end, could I have kept some of my old positions? Yeah, maybe. I think I would have been miserable. I miss my friends at JPL though. I miss them dearly because I have a lot of IRL friends that I absolutely adore. I miss them every day. But like I don't miss working for the boss. I just don't. Well, okay. It's one of those weird things. My boss, if she ever sees this, she was a gem. My boss that I had to listen to that wasn't technically my boss, he was a jerk.
Okay, so, fair enough. Yeah, it's a good distinction, I guess.
In case she ever, for some reason,
happens to cross.
She was a gem, and I adored her, but I ultimately never got to listen to her. I had to listen to him instead. But yeah, it was one of those things. Just I felt like the jumps, while risky, were worth, and I felt like it panned out. So
awesome! I'm really glad to hear that worked out and that you're in a better place.
Very.
Yeah. I guess we're coming up on 8:00. I'm thinking maybe you want to talk a little bit about your streaming and where people can find you and what you're up to these days, and kind of send some people your way.
Oh, you never have to do that, but
we want to. Are you kidding? You're awesome.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's twitch.tv/AsheVsTheWorld. Someday TikTok and YouTube will happen. Eventually. I got a lot going on right now. My partner's actually about to move in with me, so I'm still reorganizing space. But eventually, that will happen as well. So that will just be comedy sketches, I think. But no, that's what I do now. Is I go I just stream 4 times a week, Thursday through Sunday. Most days playing DVD. Some on Saturdays, every other Saturday, basically is community games and just playing with everybody. So long as there's a game to be played, basically, we do community days. And then now lately getting into oxygen not included, which is nice because it feels like it really stretches the science side.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah. That's been a fun one because it's nice to stretch the ingenuity on that one. But Oh, that's me though. A lot of DBD, a lot of being a goofy survivor main.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I have not
Yeah.
actually played it yet. I have heard more
No.
about it and gotten interested because by pure coincidence, we named our cats Hex and Boone, and I have now gotten a lot of questions about Hex and Boone versus
I would have
except for
thought.
Dead by Daylight, and I'm like, no,
Mhm.
no, but I'm gonna probably play now so that I can find out.
It's a fun time. It can be frustrating, I feel like, in the beginning, but
Mm.
then because that's funny, I went into that game hating it. And
Oh,
absolutely
really?
hating my time with it. I had friends who'd play it. I'm like, I guess. But something happened after a time. Like I finally started learning things. I learned like loops and how to just run killers and be silly. And I started embracing that more and more. Now it's become the game that I just love playing. It's just fun. I can be silly. Doesn't matter how bad a game it is. I can still be silly, have some laughs, and act like a goofball and have the time of my life. So it's
Well,
funny because it's me. If you decide to play, I hope you enjoy it.
thank you. Yeah, I'm always like nervous because it's like those are the kinds of games where I can be. It depends on who I get, right, in terms of who I'm playing with and stuff like that. So
Absolutely. And
I'll
it's
have
a
to.
game that's so much fun with friends.
I feel like that's the way
So
to
so much.
go is to play with some friends. I think then I would probably enjoy it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like especially if you can get 4 friends so that one of you is actually playing the killer, then it's the time of your life. Because
Nice.
then you're just goofing off, laughing at each other, being silly, and having a grand old time.
It's perfect for the upcoming like October theming.
Absolutely. Scaring each other. Oh, it's the best.
Yeah, so I guess everybody in chat, please go check out Ashe versus the World. Ashe it has been awesome talking to you. I really appreciated like hearing everything that you've kind of gone through and experienced with that, and knowing a little bit about the science and the streaming and about you. And so yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I've been enjoying getting the chance to talk to y'all.
Yay! And we are getting lots of love from chat headed your way.
Thanks.
We're gonna send everybody over to a raid now. Looks like we've got. I'm thinking we'll head over to Random Tuesdays Makers and Crafting stream, so everybody can go and say hi to them. Since we're gonna send everybody off that way. All right, and we're off we go, everybody. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you again for having me. This was a treat.
Yeah.
This was a real joy.
That's lovely.
It was a pleasure hanging out with all y'all.
Yeah, you too.
And if anyone has questions ever, feel free to just message me. Twitter DMs are open. Discord DMs are open. You can find me on there.
You're gonna get lots of questions, weird questions like the one about the sand.
Oh yeah, no, happy climate questions, trans questions. I'm an open book, and you can't defend me. So
most excellent. All right,
yeah.
We are off then. All right, thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah, thank you for that. This was a blast.
Yeah.
Hopefully that went okay.
It did. It was great. Yeah. You were so easy to talk to. It was wonderful.
Oh, I'm glad. I get afraid because I'm ranting a lot. I hope I'm staying on topic.
No.